On the Dobropilya axis, the battlefield woke to the sound of engines and desperation. 4 Russian armored columns rolled forward at first light, steel noses pointed toward Ukrainian lines near Razin, carrying the familiar promise of mass and momentum. It was meant to be a breakthrough. It became a demonstration. The assault came heavy and layered. Tanks led from the front, infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers stacked behind them, while lighter elements followed on motorcycles and quad bikes. Even mounted troops pressed into service to fill the gaps left by shortages. It was a gamble built on speed and shock, an attempt to overwhelm defenses before coordination and fire could settle in. It never did. Ukraine's 1st Azov Corps, reinforced by Lasar's group and SBS elements, met the attack with calm precision. Within minutes, drones were in the air, sensors locked, kill chains forming. The ground became a grid, every movement tracked, every engine signature a target. What followed was not chaos, but method. Armor began to burn. One tank after another was halted, then silenced. Infantry fighting vehicles were cut down as they tried to deploy troops under fire. Armored personnel carriers stalled and died where they stood. A recovery vehicle, sent to pull the wounded steel back from the line, joined the wreckage instead. Around them, dozens of lighter vehicles were shredded. Motorcycles and quads scattered across the fields, the remnants of a desperate attempt to substitute numbers for protection. The fight lasted less than 2 hours. In roughly 100 minutes, the Russian assault collapsed. 6 tanks destroyed, 9 IFVs eliminated, 5 APCs gone, a recovery vehicle knocked out, 10 motorized units erased. By the time the smoke began to thin, at least 24 armored vehicles lay ruined, with losses in personnel still being counted. Even the horses pressed into the attack were lost, a grim symbol of how far this assault had fallen from modern warfare into improvisation. The first footage from the battlefield now confirms what the ground already knew. This was not a narrow repulse, but a comprehensive failure. Command and control faltered. Protection was inadequate. Speed turned into exposure. On the Dobropilya axis, the line held. More than that, it spoke. It said that mass without coordination is just noise, that armor without awareness is just scrap, and that Ukrainian defenses, hardened by years of war, can still absorb a major mechanized blow and break it cleanly. This assault was meant to open a door. Instead, it closed one more option for Russia, in fire, metal, and silence. This is amazing video. A Ukrainian 107th Aviation Wing F-16AM pursues a Russian K-101 cruise missile during a recent attack on Ukrainian energy infrastructure. On the Kostiantynivka axis, the morning did not belong to the attackers. It belonged to the defenders who were waiting. Russian assault groups moved forward in small packets, probing for a weak seam, betting on numbers and pressure to force a breakthrough. They never reached their objectives. The 28th Separate Mechanized Brigade met them with disciplined fire and precise coordination, breaking the assault before it could take shape. Drones found the movement early. Targeting followed in seconds. One assault group was cut down, then another, each attempt collapsing under concentrated fire. As the infantry push failed, Russian artillery tried to intervene, hoping to suppress Ukrainian positions and reopen the attack corridor. It was a brief hope. The gun was located, fixed, and destroyed. One more Russian artillery piece removed from the battlefield, silenced before it could influence the fight. With their fire support gone and assault units shattered, the Russian advance disintegrated. The line held firm. Kostiantynivka remains locked. And once again, a Russian push ended the same way it has so many times before. Stopped cold, dismantled in minutes, and left burning on the approach. President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that Ukraine's delegation has returned from the United States, carrying concrete documents on future security guarantees and a detailed 20-point peace framework. The proposals were discussed directly with American officials, including members of Donald Trump's team, marking a serious round of political and strategic engagement rather than symbolic talks. According to Zelensky, the message delivered in Washington was clear. Any path to peace must be backed by strength and enforcement. Paper promises alone will not stop the war. What can force a change in Moscow's behavior is sustained pressure, tightening sanctions, falling oil revenues, and deepening international isolation. He stressed that Vladimir Putin's ability to continue the war is financial at its core. As long as the Kremlin can fund loyalty at home and pay for violence abroad, the fighting will go on. Remove that money, and the calculations change. For Kyiv, the talks in the U.S. were not about freezing the conflict, but about shaping conditions that make further aggression impossible. Security guarantees, economic pressure, and unity among partners remain the pillars. Zelensky's conclusion was blunt in substance, if not in tone. Peace will not come from fatigue, but from pressure that finally makes war unaffordable. And this is just a reminder of how disgusting Russians are. And to make matters worse, they almost all collectively believe in this garbage. I would focus on Kyiv so that it gets cooled down. Kyiv really deserves it. There are also cities like Lviv and Ivano-Frankivsk, for example. They're screwed-up cities. Russian propagandists Pankin and Steshin are speculating that not all cities in Ukraine are getting enough. Steshin made a surprising discovery. It turns out that the intensified shelling of Odessa by Russian terrorists only angers people and pushes them further away from Russia.
The statement from Vladimir Vladimirovich concerning the elections in Ukraine, that we are prepared, to put it bluntly, not to launch attacks on a certain day, perhaps two. I mean, how many days could the voting possibly last, right? 3 days perhaps. We are ready during this time not to launch strikes on Ukraine. Do you support this or not?
Why shouldn't we? It's simply the right of the strong. And it will certainly show us a great deal, won't it? Listen, the missile strikes on Odessa have now commenced. I haven't formed my own opinion on this, right? But I'm finding the opinions of people online, those who have relatives there, right? And they believe that in this way, the residents of Odessa are simply being driven to a frenzy and as much as possible are being turned away from Russia. Because my strikes on infrastructure targets, on bridges, well, this is a very tricky subject, isn't it? And we can't really avoid it. And at the same time, well, a short ceasefire for the duration of the referendum, well, that's a strong step. And I think the right step, that's how it is.
But if we're going to worry and be concerned about what kind of opinion Ukraine will have of us, if we suddenly stop carrying out these strikes, then we might as well not carry them out at all, right?
Yes, I really should have been concerned after all, even back in the early 2000s.
Well, no, we're talking about the conduct of a special military operation. Of course, yes.
And this is the result of us not being concerned back in the early 2000s. Where would they go? I myself heard this from people who were running politics, right? Where would they go from us, you ho-hos? Well, how's that working out, huh?
Accordingly, there's no need to strike now, for example, at infrastructure, so people don't freeze right at critical infrastructure, including so that, how good Russia is. Thank you very much.
No, I'm seeking clarification, please.
I would focus on Kyiv in this topic so that things would be tough for them there. Boss, Kyiv truly deserved that.
There are also cities like Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, for example.
These are completely ruined cities.
So we either take them completely out of the equation or conversely we use them much more often.
Let's make more frequent use of it. But over Lviv, there's some kind of, yes, a blessing, you see, because Lviv hadn't really been properly targeted throughout the entire special military operation. Nothing much had flown there. And when it finally did get hit a few months ago, there was such a childlike astonishment. But why us? What did we do? That's it.
But they also spent a certain amount of time without water, at least. I remember those photographs. Yes, I don't know what the situation is now. They remembered about Donetsk, didn't they? They truly experienced what it's like. I don't know what the situation is now.
It's all happening behind the scenes, isn't it? Perhaps regarding Lviv, they decided long ago that it's a lost cause, a severed piece, for instance. And, well, Logic suggests that we won't win the affection of Lviv's residents, neither through shelling nor by refraining from it. That's just how it is. There's no point. There are far more important objectives.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.